kicking off morning commute here. It was raining a little bit before, but no longer raining, so we good. I'm gonna actually dive in here. Maybe this guy let me in. So yeah, occasionally I will ride on the sidewalk because there's such cruddy biking streets here, right? These are streets that are basically pretty tight, and there's obviously room for parked cars and buses, but then as a cyclist you're like expected to ride in between buses and parked cars in like a space that is not even wide enough for a little bike, let alone like, you know, anything even wider. Oh man, it's a humid day today. 70 degrees, quite humid. I'm already you know, a little sweaty. It's gonna be rough. It's gonna be rough today, but New York City weather. Oh. And the fun begins. My bell? Oh yeah, it's my bell. That's a bigger bell. I think it's just rattling. So I'm trying this out at 16:9 resolution, or not resolution, perspective, I guess. I think all my videos before were at 4:3, which is a square, but Zach pointed out that nobody needs to see that much sky, so I adjusted my GoPro. Still at 2.7K, so it's still pretty high resolution. Still linear, which means it's the least wide angle I could do. So you could at least get some perspective of how close things are. It doesn't distort as much. But we'll see how the 16:9 works out. All right, so let's see. What do we want to talk about today on Bike Talk? Oh, I finally bought my domain, biketalk.nyc. I have it pointed right now just to my YouTube playlist, where you can see all of these videos. But if you're watching this and listening to it, then chances are you already know where to find them. But it makes it easier to share the link. .nyc domains are $30 a year, which is pricey. .coms are 15. They can even be down to 5 or 10 if you're getting like a .co or other kinds of it's called a top level domain extensions, or you know, the domain, the dot part, like .xyz is like $5 or something like that. There's somebody locking their bike, the U-lock. Oh yeah, these are the brakes that let everybody know that you are nearby. Oh, no? Oh, they're cleared out now. Okay. Now they're quiet again. There's a street cleaner. That's nice. I think these things only come out on alternate side days. Not sure, but you can see obviously it's like way wider than the bike lane, as you can see, but it's just a regular street cleaner. It's just going down the bike lane, a protected bike path on That's on Amsterdam. And one of the things that the cycling community would love is if we could just maintain the infrastructure that we have. And so what that means is maybe get a couple of those cleaners and clean the garbage off of bike lanes, just off of the lane. Don't wait until alternate side parking or whatever. Get a really narrow vehicle, something that is designed for the width of a bike lane, fits in the green, and just clears the crap out. This is something that fellow cyclists often do when there's like a large thing in the way. Not like cleaning up glass and stuff, but if there's a, you know, like a cone sitting in the middle of the lane or something like that, you sometimes see on Twitter people are like, this is what it looked like before and this is what it looked like after. Like, you're welcome. And that is very nice. That is very helpful. I have a hard time doing that because I'm on a city bike, so I'm like always stressed with my timing. So now what do I do here? This is kind of a 6 out of 10 here. Oh Jesus, they're driving. Okay, well, that wasn't the best. I'm gonna give that a 6 out of 10. Good effort. They said there's a bike lane here. We're about to unload through it. Let's give 2 feet and park right just over the line. Maybe that's because the driver, his parking skills weren't that great, but my guess is because they just don't really care that much. And, you know, frankly, like on situations like that, these kind of like small streets, it doesn't really matter that much. You've got, these are the streets that matter. These are the streets that are really scary and terrifying. Quiet streets that are like quiet and have some lines on them for bike lanes, like, all right, I mean, they're basically mixed use right up here, you know, so West 106. Between what is it, Riverside and Broadway, you know, it's kind of like a quiet, very quiet street anyway. I've never really encountered much, except occasionally a driver will do a U-turn. Here's HUV 1754 just hustling to get to the light, hustling. Let's speed up. Oh no, am I gonna beat you? Am I gonna beat you? Oh, I'm gonna beat you, Jersey driver. Drivers are only fast when they have like flat, straight, smooth, unobstructed pathways that are gigantic and wide. And that's when they're fast. It's like they're not actually versatile. Yeah. And now there's traffic, so all those people that I just went past are now stuck. So here we're going down basically what's effectively an unmarked path, like an entrance to the West Side Greenway, but there's nothing that tells you that in these pathways. There's nothing that instructs you that there's a bike lane here, or that even bikes are welcome, or this is a shared space. And I think that's like a really big, that's like a missed opportunity, right? Because somebody going on Riverside doesn't know that. Somebody who's new to the area or following Google. So Google Maps actually does not route you this way. If you start at West, whatever, 110th Street, something like that, and you say, take me down to Chelsea or wherever, or Chambers on the west side, it's not going to route, it'll route you in the Greenway, but it'll take you up to 100. It's so weird. They basically say, okay, great, go up to 125th, and that's the entrance to this park where we are right now. And obviously, like, it's a park, so there's a billion different ways to get into it. And like Google doesn't recognize that. that's another kind of issue in the story. But main point is when you're on a bike, like you can basically go anywhere. Can't quite go on this highway over here, but it's pretty awesome. Now I happen to go kind of the same routes every day. So I know these routes quite well. And I know their little nooks and crannies and their little, some room for improvement along the way here. But God, look how calm that water is. Barely a ripple. It means that the wind is pretty relaxing here. Nice and cool. I hope I don't have too much sky in this video, Zach. I am gonna have to upgrade at some point and redo my helmet camera to more properly be balanced. I think Jake on Twitter has a real rig. I mean, this thing's you know, a rig, like it's a cinematographer made a helmet camera. It's got a gimbal, sticks out of the top like a foot. Pretty cool, and it, you know, rotates around on like 27 different axes, so you're always stable. What I think is interesting is, like, I can't, when I turn my head, you can't really see where my eyes are seeing. Like, I'm looking, when I look behind me to see if there's a car coming, something like that, the video doesn't really pick that up. It's only picking up like a little bit, right? But I can actually, I'm looking all the way. I can't crane my neck behind me unless I'm stopped. That would be like a nice option. I mean, these cameras are already at like 170 degree width, or you know, the angle that the lens displays are just super wide. Captures a lot. But in an event where I'm, you know, I am looking behind me quite frequently, looking around, making sure, you know, things are safe. So I don't know, maybe what I need is a 360. That's what Zach has, that's what Jake has. I bought a 360 camera, the rylo, R-Y-L-O camera, a while ago, like last year, and I did test it out. That's why I got this whole you know, this mount for my GoPro is actually a mount that I first got for the rylo, and I used it a bunch of rides. But the issue is that it took way too much effort to try to edit this stuff down and use it properly. So A, you're talking about massive amount of the space on these SD cards. And the only way to edit this stuff is like through the app. I mean, you can do it through your computer, but then you have to like copy all the footage and load it up and da-da-da. And I think just trying to do this stuff through the app was like, just took forever. Anyone that has a GoPro will tell you that, I think, who uses it in this particular way. I think we are unique in the GoPro community, because GoPros are typically used for action sports and things like that, and you're only kind of taking small clips, and everything is intended to be edited. Because who the hell wants to watch a 40-minute bike ride next to a highway with a schmo who's just talking the whole time about nonsense? But if you did, and you want to produce something, no, the use case is really commuting and insurance. So you're like, all right, I'm gonna just, every time I get on a bike, I want to film. I don't really want to think too much about this thing. I wanted to just start recording, but then when I land, when I'm done, I don't want to like edit everything. I don't want to. It's not everything is not like an interesting. Most of these videos are just empty, boring, nothing videos. And so you need the ability to quickly export, quickly upload, format the SD card, start it all over again, right? And so these 360 cameras don't really allow you to do that easily. You really have to comb through footage and edit and export and da-da-da. GoPro, same thing. If you want a clip of anything, you gotta look through it. You end up, everybody knows this, you have to export it. If you're editing on your iPhone, you have to export it to the iPhone first, like to the GoPro app. And then it's just on the GoPro, but it's not actually, or on the app, but it's not actually in your photos library. Like, it's not in your phone. I mean, it's on your phone, but you know what I mean. Then you have to take a second step and export the already exported file to your photo library. And only then can you do things like share it on Instagram or post it to Twitter or whatever. So it's a very exhausting process. A couple people do it, but it is a pain point. A lot of people have said the same thing. Oh, up this hill. Oh, we got a hill. So that guy is definitely wearing a helmet wrong, because you can see like the whole front of his head. It's hard to see, but it's just kind of like a hat, right? Where the front of the hat is just like up. It's just like a yarmulke. He's wearing a helmet like a yarmulke. And it's not really how you're supposed to wear it. But most likely you won't have to use it. I asked somebody once when I was first starting to get into biking, I also got a, I was looking at helmets and saw, you know, on Amazon you go find the cheapest helmet, because of course that's what you want, covering your head. It's the cheapest thing you can find on Amazon. And I rolled up next to somebody because I had a vented helmet. I had one of the really cheap, you know, styrofoam gyro or gyro kind of helmets. And anyway, I saw this guy with the helmet and I was like, hey, how do you like this thing? You know, how is it? He said, well, I haven't had to use it yet. And it's funny because I think he thought that I was asking like, how does it hold up in a crash where you know, hit your head? But I was just like, how does it fit? You know, I was thinking more like, how does it fit? Like, I don't even know what I was really asking, but he's like, I haven't had to use it yet. And that's true. I've never used my helmet in the way it was intended. It is scuffed up, but only because I bang the shit out of it on white walls, so I get paint and stuff on it. Oh, this guy's got it right. Headphones, hands crossed. No hands, just chilling. You can't do this in like when you're next to cars. You know, it's very, or at least it's much riskier. And that's kind of another topic. Is kind of the, how calm and how like relaxing is it to actually ride in New York City? So when you're here, when you're like on a path like this, it's calm, it's quiet. There's nobody else, it's fine. You can sort of like daydream a little bit. And nothing will happen, you know? I mean, maybe you'll hit one of these concrete things, pillars on the right here, but most likely not. You're not, you know, there's a pretty wide path, so you're good. But once you hit the streets, even in these protected lanes, you kind of have to just assume. So I ride assuming everybody's going to hit me. That every driver is going to kill me. And that's kind of the level of stress. I mean, I'm not that stressed, but I am a little bit, right? Because the fear is that you get too comfortable and you let your guard down too much. And then, you know, you take a turn without looking closely enough. You know, kind of slow down a little bit, maybe go through a light when you're not really paying close attention, and you just assume it's gonna be fine. And that's, I think, unfortunately, like where a lot of risk can happen when you let your guard down. I think the big argument is that you want lanes and, you know, or bike paths that allow you to let your guard down without taking your life in your hands, right? Where that's the whole principle behind Vision Zero. That is the principle of Vision Zero, is that humans make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Let's ensure that the mistakes we make are not deadly mistakes. Let's mitigate those mistakes. So if I let my guard down, if I kind of lose control or whatever of my bike, and or I hit a pothole or whatever, and I hit something, I'm not immediately then crushed by a cement truck that's 2 feet next to me, going 30 miles an hour, can't see me, because there's no protected lanes or anything. It's just some shitty paint that doesn't do anything. And that's literally the opposite of the principles of Vision Zero. When you riding on really, you know, relaxing infrastructure is very, very different. All you really need to do is separate this stuff. It's so calm here. We're next to a 25-lane highway, but I'm pretty relaxed when we ride down here. Sure, it gets a little crowded. There's some runners that come out and whatever. I don't really care that they're in the bike lane, and it's not my lane to share. I just consider the whole thing shared. It doesn't really bother me that much. Even though it says right here, bikeway, walkway. So all those people should be running there and whatever. But I think the signage is cruddy. Could be improved a lot. It's not obvious. The real issue is when you get off this main greenway and go into, you know, the streets of Manhattan or Brooklyn or Queens or the Bronx, and you've got either no infrastructure or some paint. Even in the protected lanes, so even the you know, we call them protected, they're not really protected. We actually don't even have protected lanes. They're so rare. A protected lane, in my mind, is like concrete protected. Like there is a curb. Oh, look at this, a recumbent bike. That's dope. If you really want to do protected, you would eliminate all the cars, the parked cars. You wouldn't say it's parking protected. You would lay down a strip of concrete that would be like a barrier, kind of like something like this height, maybe just a curb, whatever, that clearly delineates. There's beyond into this, you don't go as a driver. You do not go in the bike lane here. Oh, this guy's waving me in. I don't know what's going on here. Cool. So all we have are these parking protected, which is really just, again, it's just paint. Just flip the painted lanes. Thanks, man. We got a War on Cars supporter. Let's see, do I go? Everything's red? No. Oh, these guys are here. I'm gonna stop for a minute. This is definitely not a police trap, but I do have the light. And they are walking. So yeah, that's what I think of when I think of like real protected. What we have is like, it's protected in as much as drivers pay attention to the parking lines. You know what I mean? So imagine that you wiped away all the parking, there's no cars, and the first driver comes along and he's like, oh, okay, where should I park? I guess I'll park in this like spot here next to the green paint, but not inside the buffer because that's off limits. But as soon as those spots are taken, somebody else comes along, they're like, I can squeeze in here, I'm just here for a minute, whatever, then it squeezes in a little more. You got people then who are parked all along the buffer, They're on the buffer, not in the parking spots. Or they're just ignoring the entire lane altogether. Or there's just space there and they're just straight up parked on the green paint. And none of that would be possible if you had concrete laid down, like real curbs. Oh, it's bumpy. I think that's the issue. That's what we'd love to see. Not where you just depend on other drivers to be your protection. It's weird, right? Because all the cars that are parked there can swing open their doors and in a heartbeat take you out, or what's more common is just like take over more, reclaim, you know, they're sort of claiming their space just by parking in a sloppy way. They now control, you know, they sort of dictate how much room you have as a cyclist, and I think that's my big like issue. It's like we don't have the political will to get rid of, like really get rid of parking. You know, even the fully like quote unquote protected lanes, they just have these plastic bollards that are easily, like on 13th Street you got them, and it's great. Oh man, that is really, really great infrastructure when it's empty, when it's not being blocked by cars. But the widths of the distances between those plastic bollards are so wide that it's so easy for like a truck like this, maybe not a truck like that, but definitely a lot of cars can easily just get through. I definitely did something illegal there. Whoops. Shouldn't have done that. And so what you end up seeing on places like 13th Street and 12th Street, which have quote unquote protected, fully protected, like they got rid of the parking. It's not parking protected, it's just straight up, you know, a straight bike lane that goes across town. You frequently see cars blocking it just for a second. It's always just for a second. That wouldn't happen if you just laid down curb. If you just put down a much more robust, you know, concrete blocking, whatever, something down with that old, you definitely won't want to push your car over it because you might injure your car, you might ding your car. And we all know that's the easiest way to just get drivers to fall in line is, you know, put like a fork or something, like might touch their car. And then God help you if you touch it, then they'll kill you. Then they'll get out of their car. If you like touch it with your bike, they can run you down. They can block everything. And so like you see that kind of design in Barcelona and in Spain. Like we definitely saw a lot of that. Pretty common in Europe, once again, where they figured out a lot of this stuff. And it's like not that controversial to be like, we need space, we're going to create that space, and then we're going to protect that space, and we're not going to really rely on enforcement to enforce that space. So sure, like you could technically get a car over some of these humps and things, but the average driver isn't going to do that intentionally, or, you know, isn't going to do that like accidentally. They're not going to like park poorly and just be totally over the whole thing, and then it's obvious that they did something wrong. Right now with just the painted lanes and everything, it's really easy. Like it's not, if I was a driver, I probably wouldn't, some of these places, I wouldn't even be able to tell that I'm doing something wrong, you know? There's no sign that says you're not allowed to park in the bike lane. Like there's literally not even a sign that says that. It doesn't say no standing in the bike lane. There's no, you know, there's nothing that's like scary or obvious. So people just do it. Even cyclists do it. I'm gonna turn a left turn. These bollards are pretty shitty. Because they're like right here, and then you have to turn all the way around them. right, rock and roll. Now we're going down 26th Street, the quote protected bike lane. So here we see immediately you have 1, 2, 3, 4 cars that are all on the buffer, which just subtracts 3 feet of buffer from the protected bike lane. It makes it so that if anything happens, you make a tiny mistake, it's that much more dangerous. There's no buffer, there's no room for error. You just go directly in a 34325 ML, 18693 JV, 2 trucks on the bike lane, and we're at a red light. Probably would have made the light if I wasn't talking so much, but what are you gonna do? So this is a protected bike lane. You can see also right there, like there's a car that is a black car is in the buffer. People report that. Unreported, they say that it's sometimes they say blocking the bike lane, and I see these. Cool, thank you. Horns should be as loud inside the car or the vehicle as they are outside. It would make all these idiots think twice about just using their horn. That's something that a lot of other people have said. I would love to see a car company like Tesla create something like that. They're like, we've invented a new horn. We've revolutionized the car horn. We put it inside as well as outside, so that when you use it, you also are extremely alert. And you'll only use it in real serious emergencies, because it'll make you deaf, just like it makes everyone else around you deaf. This is a good example of like somebody, you know, scootering, quote unquote, the wrong way. But really, like, these lanes here should all just be two-way lanes. And sure enough, you have plenty of this kind of, I don't know, like kerfuffle or just obstacles in the way. There's tons of crap in the way anyway. I'm not that concerned about a scooter rider going 10 miles an hour the wrong way. That doesn't really bother me. I'm not gonna like die from that. It wouldn't be a big deal if there was more space and that Penske truck was actually parked, you know, outside the buffer. This guy's in a nice suit. Let's see, somebody's cleaning some stuff in the bike lane. That's great. I really just think this is a DOT or the, you know, sanitation or a dedicated agency. It's just like, we're gonna keep all the bike lanes clear and clean. You know, I'm sure this is like up to the buildings themselves, kind of like how snow removal is really just up to the buildings, and then you get fined if you don't do it. I don't know, but and it's not consistent. But what do I know? SVU. Oh boy, this guy. Bike lanes are mobility lanes. They are handicap lanes. They are wheelchair lanes. They are traffic calming lanes, right? They are child transporting lanes. They're not just for bikes. I think the faster we understand that, the better we'll be. All right, that's me. Over and out. Like and subscribe. I did look at a microphone, but GoPro doesn't allow for external, for like wireless, a wireless mic to be attached. You literally have to physically attach the microphone, which is pretty cruddy. So I can't really do that. And I'm not gonna deal with that. So whatever, maybe soon they'll change it. All right, over and out. Like and subscribe. Hold on, let's try that again. Like and subscribe.